This is FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. Get ready for the latest in film news, TV show news, and theatrical reviews. FilmBook's podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. My name is Chris Banks. If you're tuning in for the first time, what I do on FilmBookCast, I discuss the latest film and TV show news. I also review an in-theater film. You can find more about FilmBookCast on film-book.com by using the search term FilmBookCast. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com with FilmBookCast in the subject line. This week in movie trailers, we catch up with the Vampire Diaries star Nina Dobrev and Grey's Anatomy star Eric Dane. They appear in a new period drama called Redeeming Love. It's about two young lovers who meet in the 1850s, and it just looks like a really beautiful film. Check out the trailer for Redeeming Love. It'll debut in theaters January 21st. Another trailer that dropped a couple weeks ago, but they dropped a new trailer this week, is a film called Shattered. It stars Cameron Monaghan and Frank Grillo and many others. It looks like it's a really cool thriller set in a Midwestern town, and it's like a murder mystery type thing. Check out the trailer for Shattered. The last movie trailer we'll talk about this week is a fun trailer coming from the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl. They're coming out with a horror comedy film titled Studio 666. The band shot the feature film during the pandemic, and it looks hilarious. It'll debut in theaters February 25th, and it features every member of the band. Check out the trailer for Studio 666. It'll be in theaters February 25th. That's it for movie trailers. This week in TV trailers, we get to see a more sensitive side of John Cena's extremely patriotic murderer. He plays Peacemaker in the new upcoming HBO Max series, and we just got the new trailer. It looks like it's going to be a really fun show. Robert Patrick plays his father, Uggy. The series also features Jennifer Holland, Freddie Stroma, and many others. Check out the trailer for Peacemaker. It debuts on HBO Max January 13th. Another TV trailer that caught my eye this week, Everybody Has Secrets, in the new Netflix series Stay Close. Debuting on December 31st, 4 people, dark secrets, and a past that threatens their lives. Stay Close is the gripping new thriller from Harlan Coben. It questions how much you really know someone. It stars Cush Jumbo, James Nesbitt, Sarah Parrish, and check out the trailer for Stay Close. It'll debut on Netflix December 31st. The last TV trailer we'll talk about this week is a limited series coming from HBO Max, and its title is Station 11. It's based on the Emily St. John Mandel International bestseller. Station 11 is a post-apocalyptic saga that follows survivors of a devastating flu as they attempt to rebuild and reimagine the world anew, while holding on to what's best of what's been lost. Check out the trailer for Station 11. It looks really intriguing, and it's very timely coming off the heels of a pandemic. It's kind of eerie, but check out the trailer for Station 11. It'll debut on HBO Max December 16th. This week in home releases is a film titled Saint Maud. Maud is a newly devout hospice nurse and becomes obsessed with saving her dying patient's soul. But sinister forces and her own sinful past threaten to put an end to her holy calling. Saint Maud is now available on DVD. Another new film available at home is Wild Indian. Decades after covering up his classmate's murder, Michael has moved on from his reservation and fractured past. When a man who shares his violent secrets seeks vengeance, Michael goes to great lengths to protect his new life and his wife, and his boss from demons of his past. Wild Indian is now available on DVD. Lastly this week, Malignant is now available to purchase on DVD. Played by Annabelle Wallace, Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these walking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. Malignant is now available to buy on DVD. That's it for home releases for this week. This week in TV news, HBO gave us some details about its upcoming highly anticipated music industry drama. It's a series titled The Idol. It's set against the backdrop of the music industry, and it centers on a self-help guru and leader of a modern-day cult who develops a complicated relationship with an up-and-coming pop idol. Some casting news, as Julie Beth Gonzalez has been added as a series regular, and Maya Ashet Tyson Ritter, Caitlin Scheel, Liz Sierra, Finley Rose Slater will recur in co-created by Euphoria creator Sam Levinson. The high-profile one-hour drama is currently in production. It's filmed and centered around Los Angeles, and it sees pop star Tis Faye, known for hits including Blinding Lights, starring alongside Lily Rose Depp. And it just looks like it sounds like a really cool show, so we'll keep up with news from the Idol, as I'm sure we'll get a trailer pretty soon. In some more TV news, Michelle Monaghan, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Meredith Hagner joined Vince Vaughn in Bill Lawrence's Apple TV Plus series. It's titled Bad Monkey, and it's going to be released on Apple TV Plus, starring Vince Vaughn. It tells the story of Andrew Yancey, played by Vaughn, who's a one-time detective demoted to restaurant inspector in southern Florida. A severed arm found by a tourist out fishing pulls Yancey into the world of greed and corruption that decimates the land and environment in both Florida and the Bahamas. And yes, there's even a monkey. Monaghan will play Bonnie, a mysterious woman trapped in abusive, loveless marriage. Turner-Smith will play Dragon Queen in Gracie. She's both revered and feared. Hagner is play Eve. She's questioned by Yancey about her dead husband and feels she might know more than she's saying. It's coming to us from Warner Brothers, and we'll keep up with news, and we'll wait for a trailer to drop for Bad Monkey, but pretty exciting TV news. Rounding out the week in TV news, unfortunately, is some sad news, as Ed Mekka, who played Carmine on Laverne and Shirley, has died at 69. Ed Mekka, the actor best known for playing Carmine in the entire run of Laverne and Shirley, is no longer with us. He was 69 years old. He passed away peacefully in his California home on November 27th. Carmine was also known as the Big Ragu. He was a singer and Shirley's boyfriend. He even took the character over to Happy Days for a few episodes, and the series Laverne and Shirley was spun off. He also appeared in beloved series The Love Boat for 3 episodes. He actually played a different character in each episode, which is super cool. Mekka also had a similar run on the original Fantasy Island. We'll keep Ed Mekka in our hearts this week. That's it for TV news. This week in movie news, Laverne Cox, you know her from Promising Young Woman and Orange is the New Black, is the latest addition to be cast in Uglies. It's a dystopian fantasy film based on Scott Westerfeld's international bestseller of the same name. Mick G is directing the film for Netflix. She joins a cast led by Joey King, Keith Powers, Brienne Chew, and Chase Stokes. Uglies is set in a world in which compulsory operation at 16 makes everyone pretty by conforming to an ideal standard of beauty, while King will presumably portray the novel's lead character. The role will be played by Cox is yet to be disclosed. She's a 2-time SAG Award winner and 4-time Emmy nominee. We'll keep up with news from Uglies, as I'm sure we'll get a trailer or some more casting news as they go. Some more film news. Secession star Sarah Snook will replace Elizabeth Moss in upcoming thriller Run Rabbit Run. It's a paranormal thriller, and the Secession star Sarah Snook will be replacing Elizabeth Moss in the role. Run Rabbit Run is directed by Diana Reed, and it's set to film this month in South Australia. She'll play a fertility doctor whose firm grasp on the cycle of life is put to test when her young daughter begins to exhibit extremely strange behavior. We'll keep up with news of Run Rabbit Run. Wrapping up the weekend film news is some more casting news. Upcoming sci-fi thriller Hello Stranger adds Jordana Brewster and Sam Worthington to its cast. They join Luke Grimes as the film tells a story about Faye, who attempts to replace her newly deceased husband, Evan, with an android stimulant. Although the stimulant Evan appears like human Evan in every way, Faye does not feel the same love for the simulated Evan as she does for the real Evan. Crazy premise, huh? The caveat is that the simulated Evan grows a conscience that could potentially be a threat to humankind. I can't wait till they drop the trailer for Hello Stranger, but exciting casting news. That's it for film news for this week. All right. Time for this week's movie review. For this week's movie review, we're talking about House of Gucci, directed by Ridley Scott. It stars Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Jared Leto, Jeremy Irons, Selma Hayek, Al Pacino. It's written by Becky Johnston. When Patricia Reggiani, an outsider from humble beginnings, marries into the Gucci family, her unbridled ambition begins to unravel the family legacy and triggers a reckless spiral of betrayal, decadence, revenge, and ultimately, murder. House of Gucci has gotten pretty good reviews, even though the family have, come out with a custom statements that the movie doesn't portray the family accurately and all that stuff. But and I think Ridley Scott is right to point out that while the film probably does take some liberties, Jared Leto's portrayal of Paolo Gucci was pretty improvised because there's not a lot of video footage of Paolo. But I think Ridley Scott is right to point out that, when you have Al Pacino playing you and you have Jared Leto playing you and you have Adam Driver playing you, at least you have that going for you instead of what could happen to the Gucci name. Before we start off with the review, I just want to point that out, that, sometimes we have to weave through, the headlines and the news because, of course the Gucci family is going to come out and say stuff like this. And I think Ridley Scott is right to kind of point out that you have the world's best actors playing you. And it's a movie, so we have to take that into account. But I was pleasantly surprised by this film. I had no idea about the insane story of the Gucci family at all until I saw this film. And it's pretty crazy. This is how the Gucci empire was built. I knew it was a family empire, but I didn't realize just what was going on behind the scenes. And I guess in any kind of family structure, you're going to have drama. And there's a scene where the owner of Tiffany's company says that. And I think it's very fitting because the movie is essentially about Patricia Reggiani, who is really a humble daughter of a CEO of a truck company. She meets Mauricio Gucci, who is played by Adam Driver, who is one of the sons in the Gucci empire. And so you, from the very beginning, you can see the dynamic of Mauricio being Mauricio and Patricia being the working class underdog. Jeremy Irons plays Rodolfo Gucci, who at the time was the head of the Gucci empire. And we'll talk about a perfect casting choice. Jeremy Irons is amazing. That's really one of the compliments I have of the film, which is why I said what I said at the fore about what Ridley Scott said, because he assembled really an incredible all-star cast to tell this incredible true story about a dysfunctional family who ran, one of the world's most preeminent names in fashion for 100 years essentially. And it's really crazy to see the union of that family with a working class person like Patricia. There's this scene where Jeremy Irons, who plays Rodolfo, is visibly disconcerted with his son's choices, really kind of chooses to use it to separate from his son. And Al Pacino plays Aldo Gucci, does a tremendous job. He's Al Pacino. And he plays it's the Gucci empire is split between Aldo and Rodolfo at the time. And Aldo is reminding Rodolfo that his son is the heir of this whole empire. Mauricio is the heir. And Aldo's son is Paolo, who really isn't the brightest bulb in the family. He's played by Jared Leto. And holy crap, what a makeup job. If this makeup team doesn't win an Academy Award for their job in this film, I don't know what the Academy's doing, because the makeup in this film is unbelievable. Jared Leto is unrecognizable. There's so many good casting choices within this film, but following along with the story, Patricia and Mauricio really do become, they fall in love, and it's really beautiful to see. And what's also beautiful to see is just the scenery of the movie, the costumes, the locations, anything Ridley Scott directs, is going to be gorgeous and well done. But this is exceptional in its taste and its exquisivity, and it just goes along with the Gucci theme, which is really why it's disappointing that the Gucci family, putting out statements the way they are, because the film in and of itself is, I think, a really well done portrayal of this union of rich and poor, and then, they scheme essentially to, take over the Gucci empire. Father Rodolfo dies, and so there's obviously an estate battle. There's all kinds of hands trying to pull at, the shares of Gucci, and it's just a tremendous drama about betrayal and love and money and just excess. I don't want to give out too much of the movie because I want you to see the movie if you haven't watched it, but there's also, romance within this film. There's Mauricio ends up cheating on Patricia and leaving Patricia, and it's just a crazy true story. And I think that Ridley Scott did a really well done job. It's kind of a slow burning movie. It never feels long, but it's definitely a slow burning movie. And like sitting here after watching the movie, I do have questions about, the actual story. What the hell went on in Mauricio's head? What really did he think? Did he think Patricia didn't love him? Did he get insecure the more power he garnered and obtained? Did the power that he obtained end up tarnishing the love that he and Patricia had? A big part of why I love the film is the love that Patricia and Mauricio shared. And there's a scene right the day that Mauricio is murdered by a hitman that his wife hires, that she writes in her journal that it's paradise, because she knows that he's going to be killed. And I just have a lot of questions that I want to ask. Really the psychology of the people, what happened there, really? Because the movie doesn't really go down that road, because it can't. It'd be 4 hours long if they flushed out everything that happened in the family dynamic. And that's really why I criticize the Gucci family for criticizing the film the way they do, because it's just lazy of the family to do that. But what a fascinating subject matter, what a fascinating family. I still have so many questions that are fascinating, and I would just love to know. Patricia is still in jail. I'm sure that she has a picture of him, because coming away from the film, I know that she loves him. I'm not sure if he loved her, and I would just love to know that more. I would love to flesh out the questions more. I would love to know. We get a good sense of what goes on in Patricia's mind, but what's going on in Mauricio's mind? Really. Adam Driver is very enigmatic in this film, within the role of Mauricio. He doesn't really give much, and I would just love to ask the questions of... I think that the more power that Mauricio obtained, the more he allowed that and the questions that he had about Patricia to ruin the love that they had. Because I do think they had real love there. I think it's really beautiful the way that it's done. The way that it ends is as crazy as the story itself. For an empire to be built around a family as dysfunctional as the Gucci family, and just the personalities within that family. Leto and Rodolfo, it's just an unbelievable acting job, and Pacino does an unbelievable job as Aldo. And Gaga, I didn't realize that she studied at Juilliard, but wow, she does an amazing... Patricia is so real, and you relate to her so easily. At the same time, she's crazy, and they're all schemers, and they're all clawing at one another to get more. And there's a great line that Mauricio, Adam Driver's character, says that the Gucci family is like a cake. You have a piece of it and you just want the whole thing. And the movie shows you how insane it is to be, within that dynamic of a family empire and all this money flowing around. There's tax evasion, there's bribery, there's money laundering, there's all kinds of stuff going on in this movie. And I think it's a really well done piece. I'm going to watch it again once it comes out, once it's streamable, because I think I'll like it even more the second time I watch it, because there's a lot going on. And I didn't know anything about this story before I sat down and watched this movie. So if you have no idea what has happened in the Gucci family, go check out House of Gucci, because you're going to be shocked. It's a crazy true story, and it's really well done. Everything is beautiful. I would give it an 8 out of 10. The only criticisms I have would be, I think that we are done really with these master filmmakers, as a culture. Because Ridley Scott's done 2 movies recently, The Last Duel and this. Both have completely different reviews and whatnot. And it's interesting to see, because I think that audiences generally have turned off to these mega directors for the most part. There's few that people will still go see. And people are going to see House of Gucci, which I'm very happy about. But I wish it was even bigger. But I think that's my only criticism of the film. Sometimes they do things that are too chic or too, Paolo's interpretation may be too much for some people, who knows? But I think that's my only real criticisms of the film. That sometimes you get too cute or you get too chic or you get too excessive or whatever. We have to keep in mind that Ridley Scott has been making things, from his commercial directing career to now, that, some of our criticisms really go over his head because he's so good at what he does. And maybe we just have to keep that in mind, and maybe I just have to keep that in mind when I criticize some aspects of House of Gucci. But go check out House of Gucci. It's in theaters. It's a great film. You're going to really enjoy watching it. It's not real. It's long. It's like 2:20, but it doesn't feel long. So I hope you like it as much as I did. Thanks so much for checking us out this week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of FilmBookCast. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search for Chris Banks or FilmBookCast. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at CBanksy. That's S-E-E Banksy. I'm also on Instagram, at @TheChrisBanks. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FilmBook Podcast, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment in the comment section. It really helps other people discover our podcast. Please also consider becoming one of our patrons on Patreon at patreon.com/filmbook. Your support really helps us create more engaging content. You'll find our Patreon link below in the description. If you want to tweet about this podcast, just use the hashtag FilmBookCast. Tune in next week for the next episode of the FilmBookCast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you then.